When the wind howled like a wounded coyote and the mountain snow began to fall in jagged sheets, Martha Caldwell heard a cry that froze her blood. It was no animal's wail, it was human, desperate and young, swallowed by the night on Blackwater Ridge. She lived alone in the old log cabin her husband built before silver fever claimed him. 8 winters had she weathered in solitude, her children grown or lost, her only company, the crackle of the hearth and the pines that bowed beneath the storms. Neighbors whispered she was as hard as the granite peaks themselves. They did not know loneliness like hers, the ache for a friendly voice. But tonight she would not ignore that cry. Martha donned her heavy wool coat, tucked her lantern against the wind, and stepped outside. Snow stung her cheeks as she staggered toward the sound. Each footfall in the drifts was a reminder. Help could mean her own undoing. Winter here was as deadly as any outlaw. Yet the cry came again, ragged with fear. "Please, help me." She pressed on until the lantern's circle revealed a hunched figure, a boy no older than 16, his face thin as a knife's edge, eyes bright with torment. His clothes hung in tatters. His boots lay abandoned in the snow. Martha's breath caught. He was starving, skin drawn tight, ribs visible beneath torn fabric. "Come inside," she commanded, voice firm but gentle. The boy's lip quivered. He hesitated as though distrust was his only inheritance. But when Martha extended her hand, half to help him, half to steady herself, he took it, a frost-bitten hand trembling against hers. She led him to the warmth of her cabin, brushing snow from his shoulders and guiding him to the hearth. Flames leapt to meet them, casting gold across his hollow cheeks. Martha fetched a bowl of thick oatmeal, sweetened with a spoonful of syrup she'd saved for guests who never came. He ate with a single-minded hunger, eyes fixed on the steam in the porridge as if it were manna. While he ate, she prepared a blanket and a spare quilt. "What's your name, boy?" she asked, voice low. He looked up, mouth full, swallowed twice, and answered haltingly, "Tom. Tom Fletcher." "Tom, you're safe here," Martha said, smoothing his dark hair. "Tell me what brought you to this ridge." He shivered beneath her touch. I ran from the farm, couldn't stay. Pa drank, and my ma, she was sick. No one left to look after me." His voice cracked. "I had nowhere else to go." Martha set a gentle hand on his shoulder. "Then you'll stay here until the worst of the storm passes. When the sun rises and the road's clear, we'll find your pa or someone to help." Tom nodded, relief shining through exhaustion. Martha met his gaze and saw behind his fear a spark of determination, something she recognized from her younger days, when she and her husband carved a life from the wilderness. She folded the quilt around him and poured a cup of strong herbal tea, the steam curling like a promise. "Sleep now," she whispered. "You've come through Blackwater Ridge. You're safe with me." As Tom closed his eyes, the cabin settled into hush. Just the wind singing in the chimney and 2 heartbeats learning to trust. But beyond the warmth of the hearth, the mountain night waited. For Martha, the daring act of compassion would unlock more than a boy's salvation. It would stir memories and desires she thought had frozen forever under the ridge's relentless snows. Dawn crept over Blackwater Ridge in pale lavender streaks, slipping through the cabin's frosted windows. Martha Caldwell woke to Tom Fletcher's shallow breathing beside her, a ragged reminder that last night's miracle was only the beginning. She stoked the dying embers, coaxing life back into the hearth. Outside, the storm's wrath had spent itself. Only wind-whipped drifts remained to mark its passage. Martha moved quietly, not wanting to startle a boy who, by all rights, should have perished in the cold. Bringing a basin of hot water from the kettle, she knelt beside Tom's cot. "Tom," she whispered, brushing his hair from his forehead, "it's morning. Eat something before the blood thins." His eyes fluttered open, confusion mingled with relief. He sat up slowly as Martha offered a cup of broth and a slice of fresh-baked bread. He took a careful sip, warmth spreading through him. "Thank you," he murmured, voice still laced with sleep. "Tell me more of your farm," Martha said gently, helping him swallow. "Where were you headed?" Tom's gaze dropped to the bowl. He traced a crack in the wood. "I didn't know," he said. "I ran because Pa drank us dry, sold the crops for whiskey, left Ma with the fever. I couldn't stay to die." He swallowed hard, and Martha recognized the same fierce spark in his young eyes that had once driven her and her late husband to settle these mountains. "That's a heavy burden for any boy," she replied, "but you're safe here, for now." She paused, then added, "There are ways to help your Ma, and even your Pa, if he's willing." Tom's lip trembled. "He won't be." Martha set the bowl aside and fetched a folded envelope from a desk drawer. Inside were letters from her children, long ago grown and scattered across the territory. "Your Ma may not have faith in him," Martha said, producing dried beans and salted pork, "but you've got to try. I'll ride down to Cedar Flat once the road's clear. I'll bring medicine for your Ma and talk to your Pa." Tom nodded, hope flickering like a candle in his chest. I'd like that." Suddenly, the cabin door banged open. A lean figure stood in the doorway, eyes sharp beneath a battered Stetson. Sheriff Isaac Boone, tipped by the trader who'd passed the ridge during the storm, had come seeking the runaway. "Morning, Mrs. Caldwell," Boone drawled, spurs jangling. "I hear there's a boy in your cabin." Martha rose, hand steadying the hunting rifle behind her. "He's under my protection." The sheriff's gaze shifted to Tom, who sat hunched on the cot, hands clenching the quilt. Boone's expression softened. "Tom Fletcher, I presume? Your pa's offering a reward." Tom's face drained. Martha stepped between them. "He's not a criminal. He's a son in need." Boone studied her, this fierce mountain widow who dared shield the boy. After a long moment, he nodded once. "I'll make it easy. No reward, no trouble, if he comes willingly." Martha held his gaze. "He'll come, once he's ready." Boone tipped his hat and left without another word, leaving Martha and Tom alone in the hush. Tom exhaled, the weight of a close call lifting. "Thank you," he whispered. Martha placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "Now, let's save your family." As the first golden ray broke through the pines, Martha and Tom set about packing for the descent. Two unlikely allies bound by hope, trust, and the promise that even the loneliest mountain can become a home when compassion leads the way. With saddlebags secured and Tom's small pack slung over his shoulder, Martha led her horse onto the narrow trail winding down Blackwater Ridge. Tom rode behind, eyes wide as the forest opened into sunlit clearings. Birds called overhead, but every rustle in the underbrush kept them alert. Wolves and bandits alike haunted these passes. Halfway down, the trail narrowed to a slick ledge above a roaring ravine. A sudden tremor of hoof made Martha's heart pound. She glanced back. Tom's mare danced nervously, legs trembling on the edge. Easy there, Martha soothed, sliding from her saddle to steady the animal. Tom followed suit, kneeling to calm his mount. A snap of dead wood echoed from the pines. Both stiffened. From the shadows emerged two figures, rough men with sun-leathered faces and Colt revolvers at their hips. One spat chew and sneered, "Well, look what we've got. Martha Caldwell, the mountain widow, giving charity to strays," the taller man jeered. "Hand over the boy and any valuables, and maybe we let you walk." Martha's jaw set. She placed herself between Tom and the bandits. "He's a child, not merchandise. Now step aside." The second man laughed. "You'll do no such thing." He raised his pistol. Tom's breath caught. Martha's rifle lay across her saddle, the only defense on this treacherous ledge. Time slowed. The bandit's finger twitched on the trigger. Tom pressed himself against Martha's skirt. Horses stamped anxiously. Then, in a whisper low and lethal, Martha drew her sidearm. "Back off," she warned. The taller bandit hesitated, boots scraping the gravel. The smaller one cursed and lunged at Martha. With steady aim, born of years alone on these mountains, Martha fired. The man's hat flew off. He stumbled, clutching his shoulder. His partner cursed again and fled down the slope. Martha holstered her pistol and knelt by the wounded bandit, ensuring he could not shoot again. Tom watched, eyes reflecting both horror and awe. "We'll leave him for the marshals below," Martha said quietly. She coaxed Tom back to his horse. "Come on, no stopping now." They pushed onward, the trail growing gentler as pine gave way to scrub. By midday they reached Cedar Flat, and Martha secured the wounded man to a tree with rope for the sheriff's deputies. She sent a rider back with word of the bandits' demise. As they entered the sunlit town, Tom's hand found Martha's. "Thank you," he murmured, "for saving me, and for saving me again." Martha offered a rare smile, warmth in her eyes. "You'd have done the same for me." In the distance, a church bell tolled noon, echoing across the valley like a benediction. Side by side, widow and runaway rode into town, two souls bound by peril and compassion, forging a bond as unbreakable as the mountain granite itself. They rode into Cedar Flat's dusty main street amid curious glances. Merchants paused behind wooden counters as Martha led Tom to the small apothecary, its green-shuttered windows offering medicine for his mother's fever. Every step tugged at Tom's heart. This town held his past's ghosts. Inside, the apothecary's door jingled. Old Henri Dupré, the town's herbalist, peered over round spectacles. "Martha Caldwell," he said, voice soft with respect. "Come for my tonic." Martha nodded, placing a pouch of silver coins on the counter. "For Mrs. Fletcher," she replied, "and something to break her fever." Dupree handed her vials of bark infusion and crushed willow bark. "This'll do it," he said. He glanced at Tom. "And young Fletcher, word is you've been riding these woods alone." Tom swallowed. "I ran away, sir. I need to help my family." Henry studied him, sympathy and concern in his eyes. "Hard times, child. Here, take a loaf of bread on the house." He pushed a fresh loaf across the counter. Outside, a group of townsfolk had gathered, no one obscure, Mr. Langley, the banker, Mrs. Hawthorne, the schoolmarm, even Sheriff Mallory leaning on his saddle. Their murmurs rippled through the street. Tom's chest tightened. Martha stepped forward, voice firm. "Tom Fletcher was in mortal danger. I brought him here for help, for his ma's sake." Mr. Langley folded his arms. "Miss Caldwell, Harboring runaways upset the law. The community expects order. Martha met his gaze. This boy is my responsibility now. I'll see him home when his family is well. Until then, he's under my protection. Mrs. Hawthorne laid a gentle hand on Tom's shoulder. You're safe here, dear. She offered a soft smile that eased Tom's fear. The banker and merchants exchanged reluctant nods, respect overcoming suspicion. Sheriff Mallory cleared his throat. Martha's done her duty. I'll overlook the trespass, so long as Tom leaves once his ma recovers. Tom exhaled, hope unfurling. Martha guided him down the street, basket of tonic and bread in hand. Behind them, the townsfolk drifted back to their shops, a quiet understanding settling over Cedar Flat. As they mounted to ride out, Tom looked back at the shutters closing against the afternoon sun. Thank you, he said, voice thick. Martha squeezed his hand. You're part of my family now, until yours is ready, and that means you'll call me Mother, if you like. Tom's eyes shone. Mother, he whispered. Under the western sky, a new family formed, fierce, compassionate, ready to face whatever lay beyond the ridge together. The ride back up Blackwater Ridge was slower, every hoofbeat echoing Tom's worry for his mother and for the father he had left behind. Martha led the way. The tonic nestled safely against her saddle. Tom rode beside her, his basket of bread now light, his heart heavy with anticipation. As the trees closed in and the trail steepened, Martha spoke gently. Your ma will be well soon, she said, and your pa? Sometimes a man's burdens make him cruel. Give him a chance to make amends. Tom nodded but looked away, pain flickering in his eyes. They topped the ridge at dusk. Smoke curled from the Fletcher farmhouse chimney, but when Martha knocked, the door swung open to reveal a gaunt woman in a faded calico dress. Her cheeks were sunken, fever-flushed, but her eyes lit with relief. Tom! She cried, stumbling forward. Martha caught her as she sank, then applied the willow bark infusion with practiced care. Delia, no, Mrs. Fletcher, gasped as the fever broke, her breathing easing. Tom knelt beside her, pressing the fresh-baked bread to her lips. Outside, boots crunched. Tom's father, Will Fletcher, watched them from the porch, shoulders hunched under a threadbare coat, eyes red as embers. Remorse and resentment warred on his face. Martha stepped onto the porch. Your wife needs rest, she said softly. Your son needs you. Will's jaw trembled. He opened his mouth, then closed it. At last he whispered, I'm sorry. Then louder, I'm sorry, Sarah, and Tom. Tom rose, voice shaking. Pa? Will reached toward them, tears glinting on his beard. I lost my way, thought the bottle would drown my failures. He paused, looking at Martha. Thank you for saving her and him. Martha inclined her head. He's family now. Will swallowed and turned to Tom. I'll work these woods, any job, just to prove I'm worthy again. Tom's eyes filled. He stepped forward and wrapped his arms around his father, then his mother. Martha watched as the Fletcher family closed the circle, broken pieces mended by courage, compassion, and the unwavering strength of a mountain widow's heart. Under the western sky's final glow, Blackwater Ridge bore witness to a healing more profound than any tonic, the forgiveness that binds a family, and the love that can spring from the coldest snow. A week later, Cedar Flat's sun-dappled clearing buzzed with life as neighbors and friends gathered for a small harvest festival in honor of the Fletcher family's reunion. Long tables, hewn from cedar logs, groaned under platters of roast venison, sweet corn bread, and berry tarts, pressed from Martha's own orchard. Lanterns hung from the pines, their soft glow promising warmth against the coming chill. Martha stood beside the steaming stew cauldron, sharing smiles with Sheriff Mallory and Henri Dupré, who'd come to witness the miracle of a family restored. Tom darted between tables, delivering bread to children who laughed with sticky fingers, while his mother, Sarah, poured cider and offered gratitude to every hand that had shaped her healing. At the center of the clearing, Will Fletcher stood before the assembled townsfolk. His coat was patched but clean, his stance straighter than it had been in years. Clearing his throat, he raised a tin cup. "To Martha Caldwell," he called, voice ringing clear, "whose kindness saved my family. May we honor her gift always." A cheer rose, echoing through the pines. Martha, cheeks flushed, stepped forward. She lifted her own cup, voice steady. "To new beginnings, for us all." As mugs clinked and laughter danced on the night air, Martha felt a stirring in her heart. For the first time since her husband's passing, she sensed that her own story was far from over, that she too could find joy beyond solitude. Later, beneath the lantern-lit canopy, Tom tugged at her sleeve and whispered, "Mama, stay with us." His new name for her felt like a promise. Martha knelt, brushing back his hair. "I will, Tom. This is home." She rose to find Will taking her hand, gratitude and respect shining in his eyes. Around them, the community swayed to a fiddle's tune, joined by the steady beat of a hand drum, an echo of two worlds united. Under the endless western sky, Martha Caldwell, the mountain widow, embraced her new path, guided not by loss, but by the enduring light of compassion, family, and the bond that turned a starving teen into a son, and solitude into a shared life beneath the whispering pines. Spring returned to Blackwater Ridge on soft paws of green, and with it came new growth for every soul touched by Martha's kindness. The Fletcher farm, once a place of despair, now bloomed with neat rows of wheat and sunflowers nodding in the breeze. Martha and Sarah Fletcher walked the field side by side, sharing dreams and plans as the earth yielded its promise. Tom raced ahead on his mare, laughter trailing like wildflowers in his wake. Will Fletcher followed, guiding a plow through rich soil, the rhythm of the horse's hooves and the blade across the earth a hymn of redemption. Each furrow laid bare the land's stubborn generosity, and in turn the family's renewed hope. At dusk, Martha stood on her porch, watching the fading light gild the pines. Sheriff Mallory rode up, tipping his hat. "Evening, Martha," he called softly. "I brought word from Ridgecrest. You've been offered a contract protecting the township's timber rights. They want you to manage the harvest." Martha's chest tightened. The offer meant resources and stability, but more work, less solitude. She turned to Sarah, who had joined her with a basket of eggs. Sarah smiled, eyes warm. "You deserve it, Martha," she said. "You've given us more than we could repay." Martha considered the invitation, the weight of the hills behind her. Then she looked at the fields, the thriving crop, and the family she'd embraced. "I'll do it," she said at last, voice steady, "not for pay, but to protect this land and the people who call it home." That night, under a moon silvering the ridge, Martha added her signature to the timber agreement, sealing her new role as guardian of Blackwater's forests. Tom and Sarah stood by, pride shining brighter than any lantern. In the years that followed, the cabins grew into a small settlement, Homes built with Martha's careful guidance, each log numbered and each tree respected. The Fletchers prospered. Tom became a skilled horsebreaker, and Sarah tended a blossoming garden that fed every table. And Martha, once a lonely widow, found her purpose in stewardship, ensuring the mountain's bounty would endure for generations. On clear nights, families gathered around the same stone hearth where Tom first found shelter. They shared stories of storms weathered, of a widow's compassion, and of a starving teen who became a son. And as the pines whispered overhead, their roots intertwined beneath the soil, just as their lives had, in a tapestry of hope, renewal, and the enduring spirit of the American frontier. Decades passed on Blackwater Ridge, and the world beyond its pines changed with railroads, telegraph wires, and new towns springing from the prairie. Yet beneath that silvered canopy, the settlement Martha Caldwell helped forge endured, a testament to one act of compassion on a storm-swept night. Tom Fletcher grew into a man of the ridge, his laughter echoing like a song through the clearings. He married Eliza Boone, Sheriff Mallory's daughter, and they raised 3 children beneath the same cedar beams that once sheltered his fever-stricken mother. Will and Sarah Fletcher spent their twilight years teaching grandchildren how to coax crops from stubborn soil and how to read by lantern light. Martha, gray-haired but still steady as a pounded log, remained the heart of the community. Townsfolk called her Mother of the Ridge, with affection and respect. Each spring, she led a ceremony beneath the ancient oak on the hill, where she first knelt over Tom's broken body, inviting every family to plant a sapling in memory of lives saved and bonds forged. On one such spring morning, the settlers and their children gathered in a wide circle. Martha, leaning on a polished walking stick, held the original bear token Tom had once pressed into her palm, from the story he would never tire of telling. She raised her voice, soft yet clear. Here we plant these roots as we planted hope, knowing that love and kindness grow stronger than the deepest winter frost. We are bound by these pines, by our shared trials and our shared triumphs. Children scooped soil around young saplings, while parents whispered stories of that first storm, of Martha's lantern cutting through the snow, and of Tom's trembling hand in hers. As the final clump of earth settled, the community joined hands in silent promise. Martha looked over the circle, faces bright with gratitude, hands dirty with promise. The ridge that once symbolized solitude had become a living tapestry of family, friendship, and unbreakable bonds. When she finally turned toward her cabin, the same logs weathered by time yet sturdy as ever, Martha paused beneath the whispering pines. She lifted her lantern high, its glow a beacon through the new green. In that light she saw not loneliness, but a world made whole by courage, compassion, and the simple choice to open one's door to a starving child. Under the vast western sky, Blackwater Ridge slept that night wrapped in peace, a community forever bound by the legacy of a mountain widow who gave shelter to a teen in need, and by the hope that even the coldest night can lead to the warmest dawn.